Hello everyone. I am going to show you how I'm going to do a little bit of overdye on some floss I need for an upcoming project. Um, the color I want it to be for the tree trunk and stem or branches of, well, a tree. And so I've chosen DMC 3790 as my base. And as you can see, it's kind of like just a nice kind of taupey brown. I want to give it some dimension, some highs and lows, some depth. So what I'm going to do is I am going to mix up a little bit of charcoal gray and use a syringe to dribble some on top of my DMC here, and hopefully that will give me the effect that I'm looking for. Otherwise, I mean, a skein of DMC is not that expensive. If I really need to redo it, try something different, I can manage that. And the amount of dye I'm going to use today is going to be so little that it's barely going to even make a dent. So first things first, you are going to need a little bit of hot water. This is, I don't know, maybe a quarter cup I've got in here. Is going to be way more than I need, but it's just, I threw some water in a cup. I'm using charcoal gray RIT dye. I've got a syringe. I've got a little, I think this is a 1/8 teaspoon. I've got a little bit of salt here and a little bit of dish soap. It doesn't, I don't think the dish soap brand matters at all. So first thing you want to do is shake your RIT dye really well, just to make sure that the pigment is all mixed in and it hasn't settled to the bottom. So give it a really good shake. Okay, I don't want to make anybody sick, so I'm not going to do that on camera. All right, that should be good. I'm going to throw a little shake of salt in there. And just like a drop of dish soap. And I'm going to stir that up. Alright. Now I am going to take my RIT dye. And I'm going to start with like probably about just not half of this maybe, and just basically dip it in and try to pull out some real stuff that's not just suds. Or there we go. It's probably a quarter of this 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm going to start with that and see how it looks. So one of the things that you can do when you're testing your RIT dyes is, I've got a plate here with some paper towel underneath to absorb some of the excess dye from what I'm doing. So what you can do is you can just take your dye and kind of dribble it on. And it kind of gives you an idea of how much depth your dye bath has. That's not enough impact for me, so I'm going to go for more. Probably about the same amount again. I'm going to stir that in. You have to remember that your dye is always going to dry lighter than it is when it's wet. So it's going to be even lighter than this when it's finished drying. So let's test it again. Well, that's getting better. I think I still want more drama than that. A little bit more um, well, drama is a good word. So I'm gonna, again, there's a lot of bubbles from shaking it, so it's hard to kind of maybe show you exactly how much I'm getting. But another quarter of this 1/8 of a teaspoon, I'm gonna put it in and see what I get. Let's test it. That might have been just a shade too much. You can see all my sets. Normally it doesn't set quite that much. I might have put just a shade too much dish soap. You probably don't have to put the dish soap in, but it's one of the instructions on, I think, that I read on the RIT dye that helps it kind of absorb or something like that. So, no, I'm gonna go, probably gonna end up putting a full 1/8 of a teaspoon in there, you guys. I've already done this once with another set that I really liked stitching with, but I didn't write down how much I used at that point, which was a bad idea. You should always, when you're experimenting, write down how much you put in, like for your dye, what you did, and that'll give you an idea of where to start next time if you ever need to replicate or try to get something close. So don't be surprised if a cat comes and wanders through all of this in a few minutes, because there's one over here investigating pretty hardcore. Okay. Oh yeah. No, I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna go for it and get a really nice deep tone. I'm gonna put a whole half more of this. So that would be an 1/8 of a teaspoon plus another half of an 1/8 of a teaspoon so far. Let's see, maybe it'll end up being a 1/4 teaspoon. I don't know. This is where the trial and error part is kind of fun. Yeah, I'm going for another half of this. The cat is now sneaking up from the back. Let's see how this goes. And you know what? If you get it too strong, you don't like the look of it, then you can always. Oh yeah, I like that. You can always throw this mix out and start again. Like, you know, if you want it to have a bluish tone, throw some blue and see what happens. All you're, going to go through is a little bit of paper towel in your process. So you can see the progression. And I'm pretty sure this is a full 1/4 teaspoon in this little 1/4 cup. So that's what I'm going to go with today. I hope it comes to something kind of close to what I want. If it's not dark enough, I can always add another layer, do something else to it. Use it for a different project that calls for something that, looks better with what it ends up, and just start again. I like the trial and error. I like the playing with, what might happen, I guess. So this is just a syringe I got at the pharmacy, and I don't know what it's technically used for, but it has a nice amount of liquid that it can hold at one time. Like some of the syringes out there are pretty small, so this one holds a nice amount of liquid. I guess 10 milliliters it holds, so that's good. So I'm just gonna fill it up. Now you can dampen your thread first. That will make the dye travel through it a little bit easier and soak into it a little bit easier, but I want a little bit of control. I don't want it to flow too far through the strands. I want some highs and lows, so I don't want it to be completely covered with this stuff. So I'm gonna work with it dry this time. If I screw it up, I screw it up. So I'm just going to use my syringe to start dribbling and you can see the paper towel is soaking up a lot of the stuff that falls through and falls off, which is good because if it doesn't do that, your thread is going to be sitting in a puddle of dye, and it's more likely to flow through it and soak too much in, right? You're not going to get as many highs and lows. And it really depends on the look you're going for. Okay, so I think that's good for the one side. Now I'm gonna flip it over and put some on the back. See, you can see there's a lot of blank space back here. So I'm just gonna reload my syringe. If you get a bunch of thread at the thrift store, or if you inherit it from somebody's stash and you have more thread than you know what to do with, this is a great thing to play with. You can just mess around with over dyeing your excess threads and just see what happens. You'd be surprised how beautiful they can come out just by a little bit of play. I'm just trying to hit some of the areas that look a little bit empty here, and I don't want it to be too, like even. I want it to be kind of random, and some areas just full dark and some with some nice lengths of light. I want it to be random. So try to aim for that a little bit. So right now I'm liking the look of that. I think that would be a beautiful tree color. The highs and lows in a bark. And so I'm going to set aside my syringe and clean up, and I'm going to let this soak in for a little bit. After I let it soak in for a little bit, I'm going to rinse it under cold running water and hang it to dry. And after that, it should be ready to use. So when I get there, hopefully I will remember to take a little bit of a video and show you how it's stitching up, as long as this is successful. If it isn't successful, I'm not posting this video though. All right. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone. I thought I would give you an update on my hand-dyed floss. Okay, so this is the floss I dyed with you in the last portion of the video. As you can see, there's lots of variation in the tones, lots of highs and lows, which was what I was going for. It ended up stitching up like that. That wasn't exactly what I wanted in my tree, so I pulled out a bunch of floss that I had previously dyed with the same technique, and I tried it on the fabric, and I ended up deciding that I liked it a lot better. As you can see, It has just a slightly more grayish tone to it. Not quite as like it's like this part here is just a little too bright, and it was softer here, a little bit more gray washed through it. So maybe my thread had been wet when I dyed it the last time. I can't remember, it's been so long. So it's not that this one up here is bad. It was just a little bit more bright than I wanted for this dark background. It's nighttime, so just wanted a little less of the lights. I'm still planning to use this one that I dyed with you to do the ends of the branches where the starlight and the moonlight would be kind of glinting off of, so that there's a little bit of that, and probably through the border as well. But I used my, sorry if that's making you sick, I used my older version for the trunk of the tree for the most part. And you can actually see there's a little bit of a subtle difference. This one was the one I dyed with you, and this is the older version. Same base of 3790, but I just ended up with a little bit more of a gray wash through this one as opposed to the new one. So what I might do with this one is just take a cup and pour a really light bath of the charcoal gray in it, and just dunk the whole floss in. After I'm done this project, I'm gonna maybe play with that and just kind of give it a gray wash overall and see how it comes out. But not until I'm done with this project. So that's how this technique stitches up on 40 count. So you can see it's a really kind of light speckling for the most part. You get some banding in there with the occasional, strand or two that, didn't get hit with quite as much dye. And I really like how organic that feels in this type of project. It kind of washes out just a bit, like it's picking up the highs and lows even more through the camera than it is in person, but you kind of get the idea. So that's my hand dyed. All the rest of it are overdyeds that I bought, but it's really fun to play with your own hand dyes. I can show you some of the other types of hand dyes that I've played with. So when I was stitching these Prairie Schooler Santas, I decided to kind of go with my own color palette, and I decided that I would go with DMC 598 from some of the coats on these Santas, but this was too bright just by itself. So what I did was I filled a cup, and I think I put in just a light wash of pearl gray into the cup, and it took it from this down to this, the whole thing, just an overwash to tone it down just a smidge, and I really love the way it came out. So just a little bit more antique-y of a color. So that's one that I've done. This is similar. It might even be the same base as this. When I was dyeing this batch, I think I was playing with charcoal gray and black on the same 3790 base. And so this black is obviously a lot deeper in tone, and it's also beautiful. I haven't used it in a project yet, but it might have been okay in this one, but a little dramatic maybe for this. So I haven't quite figured out what I want to use this for, but you can see the difference between the charcoal gray version and the black version. So I did that. This 732, which is actually the same color as I'm using here, I believe. I had overdyed to do some grass in Brenda Gervais. I can't remember. it's called October 31st by Brenda Gervais, and it's a witch project that has a big chunk of grass at the bottom. And so I'd wanted just because it seemed like it needed a couple different tones in it. I'm pretty sure I used a charcoal gray and like a rusty orange dribble technique on this one. Same technique as I used for these, like with the syringe dribbling, but I dribbled two different colors on that, and I don't know if you can quite see those in it. It's very subtle, but it really, really looked lovely. I should have pulled that piece off the wall to show you, but again, it was just kind of like chatter, in the same way that this is kind of like chatter through the stitching. This was just a lovely little chatter of kind of rusts and gray tones in the green. It was really, I loved it so much. It was so great. A different technique that I have been using to have fun dyeing with or some of my threads is I have a big cone of just white. And so what I do when I'm dyeing some of my fabrics is I'll take the leftover dye bath and I'll pour some into a cup. And then what I do is I cut my strands into 1 yard lengths and I fold it in half, as you can see, and kind of mentally section it into thirds. So the darkest section is the section that goes into the dye bath first, and it'll sit in there for about 5 minutes. And once that 5 minutes is done, I'll take another third of the white and dunk it into the dye bath. So it gets another 5 minutes. This has been in the longest, so it's going to be the darkest. This is going to get less time, so it's going to be lighter, obviously. And then for the last 5 minutes, I put the whole rest of it in. And so you get a like kind of an ombre tone to it. And I haven't stitched anything with these yet, but I really like the way they come out. So I did the same thing with this one with I had dyed a purple fabric for a project. And so this was done with the exact same technique, and you can kind of see it changes quite a bit from the darkest of the ombre to the, I hope I'm saying that right, ombre. I don't know. Anyways, so quite a difference from the stuff that was in the bath, the longest to the shortest, and in the middle is the medium tone. So I guess I could show you the same here, just so it's side by side. You can see how different the colors are and how much less time that it's dipped in. So anyways, I think that's all I have to say to you right now about this. I hope this was helpful for you, and yeah, have some fun. The dye doesn't cost very much. The DMC threads don't cost very much, and it can be really fun to experiment. I haven't had anything come out that I would not stitch with. It's just about finding the right project for it. So definitely give it a try and have some fun with it, and you might enjoy the process as well. All right, thank you for joining me today, and happy stitching. Bye.